Excuse me while I just lose my mind. Girls, guys, gays, whatever. We're back. It's been a minute. Obviously, I only have 2 fucking episodes. But you know what? This is the 3rd, so we're already on track to do better than my other shit show of a podcast. My 2. That makes no sense of you. That makes no sense for those of you that don't know that I've tried to have 2 podcasts and they've both miserably failed, but both were also involved with other people. But here we are. I'm going for a cozy vibe today, so I look a little weird, but you know what? I don't care. It is the first day of my period. I'm feeling really fucking rough, and I want to be comfortable, and I don't really care about how it looks, but that's so besides the point. Also besides the point, I have an addiction to 7 Brew now, so I go literally like every day. It's very, very bad, but it tastes so good, and could very much be like ASMR with this. Welcome to the 3rd episode of This Might Get Deep. My name is Shay, and here we are. It's been probably about a month since I've sat down to do this or record an episode. Life has been so hectic, and I think literally the past month I've been traveling back home on the weekends for whatever reason, but I literally haven't. I've barely been here, I feel like. And then I wanted to record last week, but I went to the gym Monday, came back home, and I got sick, and it took me out for the rest of the week. So, and then I was busy all weekend too, because I also had to go home again. But now we're back, and I'm going to be here for like the foreseeable future until school gets out, and I'll have more time, and hopefully I can actually stick to my goals and get done what needs to get done. But today's episode is going to be, I feel like that's a good, like, not cutaway, but leeway. No, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but good little intro to the topic of today. Today I'm going to be talking about just living alone and coping with the idea of being alone. And I know in the past I've talked about how being alone, at least to me, is different than being lonely. Like, you can, because I see being alone as a peaceful thing most of the time, but being lonely is a more mental thing. So I think being alone is a physical thing. Being lonely is like a depressing mental thing as opposed to external. So when I say living alone, there's no other people here. I was on my own until I got Mila, but now I have a little companion who drives me up the wall most of the time. But I feel like growing up an only child, I feel like I've lived alone my entire life. And I feel like for the most part I have. Obviously not completely alone. That it was lonely. But I mean, you know, my parents live there. I have my dogs. So I didn't live completely alone. But there's such a difference in being an only child and living with siblings. It very much changes your life. Obviously I don't have siblings. So I feel like I've been living on my own for my entire life. Because then when I came here to college and I had a dorm and it had to be shared with a roommate, it was not a good situation. We didn't like each other. So I need to have my own space to feel comfortable. I've found that if I won't say living, but if I'm like confined to close quarters with somebody for a period of time that's longer than like 2 days, I start to lose my shit because I need my space and I need to be alone. I wouldn't say it's more of a physical thing, but I do get really overstimulated very easily, so I think it's more of a mental thing that I don't I don't like to share my space with other people, which is why I live alone. And I'm lucky enough that we can afford this, because not everybody can. But I found that I can't live with other people, and that's not a good thing. But but then you live in a dorm. That's my only experience I've ever had with truly living with other people. That only lasted for like 2.5 months, because then she fucking dipped out on me. But that was fine, because then I lived by myself the rest of the year. Wonderful. Mila has the zoomies now. I know. Yep. Bitch, don't jump. I fully thought she was going to jump. She saw the line. She stopped. Can you stop, please? Don't do it. Thank you. So even when I say that I didn't live alone and I lived with somebody else, I was still, for the majority of the year, I was by myself, and I actually really liked it for the most part. But I also got FOMO, and I still get FOMO now, even though I'm still in college. Living on my own, I get FOMO because I'm like, what would it be like to live with a friend or a group of friends, and you all actually like one another and respect one another? I get really jealous and sad about that a lot of the time, because it's not like the typical college experience, that I have, or that I live. It's not the typical one, and I wish sometimes that it was, but at the same time, I'm really happy that I do live on my own and I can form my own experience, and I feel like I have more room to grow and more grace, because I can give myself a lot more grace. I just find that living with other people stresses me out so much, because even when I go home, obviously I go home and I live with my parents, that just being there for like a week, holy shit, I was ready to go. So this summer, I'm not excited in the least to live with my parents, because now I know what I want out of my own space, and I know how to live on my own, and I don't have the mental capacity to live with other people unless they are a romantic partner. Because that's one thing I found in my last relationship. When we would go back and forth and stay at each other's places, here, not my parents, oh God, no. But we both had our own places, and I found that it felt less like a chore than it did to like maybe stay the night or stay with a friend or live with a roommate. It just, I don't know how to describe it. It felt different. I still felt awkward. Not in my space, but in his space. I felt awkward, and I didn't want to overstep boundaries, and I didn't want to mess things up. I didn't want to make myself too at home, because then, run the risk of making them scared and feel like it's moving really fast, but whatever. But I've always never wanted to, or I've always been taught not to overstep boundaries. So if I'm at somebody's house, why am I going to do something that they may not like in their house, but I don't know that I'm doing it. So I try to be very cautious when I'm around other people, which is why I don't like living with them, because I'm like, you know how you operate, you know how you live, you know how you like things in your own place, as you should. So why am I going to come in and mess that up? I'm going to try to be as respectful as possible and not do shit. But then you get told, you're like, hey, make yourself at home. What are you doing? You can do what you want here. You want to turn on the AC, turn it down. If it's too hot in here, if it's too hot, turn on the AC. If it's too cold, turn it up. And that's something that I'm not comfortable doing, because I know in my place, I need it to be at certain temperatures because of my body, and that's how I like it. And then I go home, and it's like my dad is a fucking freak over the thermostat, and I can't touch it without getting scolded. So every person is so different, so I feel like living alone is the best option for me, because, depending on the person, you can, not just who you're living with, but who you are, you can adapt to different circumstances, and I guess, mold yourself for everywhere that you live, with every person that you live in. Holy shit, I can't talk. Not live in, live with. Jesus! I cannot form a thought, clearly. But I don't want to deal with that. Like, it's just extra stress that you don't need. Extra drama that you don't need. So, like, if I can afford to live on my own, why am I not going to do that? Because I want to live on my own. And I feel, to an extent, that I need to live on my own. Because I feel like living with other people, there's only so much that you can learn about yourself and about life. But it's when you're on your own that you truly learn things about yourself that you wouldn't know unless you were living alone. Like me, for example, I'm struggling, but learning how to successfully be by myself and be independent and not, I guess, like, have other people as a crutch. Like, I finally have my own space to do with it what I want, but I'm still trying to get rid of the behaviors of pleasing other people in my space. That part I really don't understand, but I am. Like, nobody else is here. Why do I feel the need to, like, keep it pristine all the time? No, I'm not a fucking, like, robot. I can't do that. And I have a dog. Like, I cleaned yesterday. This bitch already has this place torn up again. Like, it's a flaw of mine. I'm not a clean person. Like, my space, I've never been clean in that aspect. It's always crowded. Sometimes it's been horrible. Like, it's bad. Granted, it's not bad anymore, but it's still enough that I'll walk in and be like, I don't like this. It needs to be cleaner. That made no sense. I'm so sorry. But basically, I'm just learning so much about life and being on my own and growing as a person while living alone. And I really don't think I would know any of these things about myself, what I want and need, and what needs to happen in order for me to succeed. I don't think I could do that living with other people because, like I said, when I live with other people, I just walk on eggshells all the time. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to live the way that I want to live freely from judgment of other people. And that's not asking for a lot, okay? But I feel like I'm like some sort of a people pleaser. I don't like when people are upset with me. I don't like when they're mad at me. I don't like when somebody has a less than satisfactory thought about me or a view about me. Makes me upset, and I don't like it. And that is something so different. But now on the topic of coping with being alone, I think it's hard to deal with. Because I know for me, like I've been telling you, I like to live alone and I want to live alone. But there's this phase that you go from living with people and knowing how to live with people, usually just your family, to going to living on your own. And there's such, I feel like, a big adjustment period that you're really lost. You're confused, lost, scared, and you just get really lonely. Because you're having such a big change in your life. And even now, living on my own for almost a year, or over a year, kind of. I don't know. It depends how you see it. I'm still adjusting to living alone. Because there's some days, nights, whatever. I really wish that I could walk out of my room and I would have people to talk to and I'd have friends here, roommates, and that we can do all these, like, fun things together, you know, girlhood, college, whatever, that I feel like I'm missing out, and I wish I could do that, and it makes me really, like, the word slipped my mind again. I don't think depressed is a good word. but reminiscent isn't either. I just feel like I'm remembering something that I never had. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of women especially can relate to. Because, it is really hard to make women friends. It just is. I don't know why, but it is. It's hard to find genuine people that you like enough and get along with well enough to live with, especially. And, some people get lucky, but not everybody gets lucky in that aspect. And clearly I'm not one of them. But I feel like making friends is something that I've always struggled with. Usually they're all younger than me. But, like, elementary to high school, I was with the same friend group literally, like, the entire time. And a lot of my friends are still from that period of my life, but a lot of them have left. So then you go to a whole area that you're not sure about. You've had the same people your whole life. I came here not really knowing how to make friends. I didn't really make other friends in high school either. Like, I made a few, but that's because they were in my classes and they're like acquaintances. I'm not going to hang out with them outside of class. But so that really stunted me in that aspect. I come here, I don't really know how to make friends. Like, I'm not a very social person. I can't go out of my way for that. So I try my best, but I'm still just like, I feel like I end up crying at least 2 or 3 times a week about how lonely I am and how much I wish I had friends. And I am not good at giving advice when it comes to that aspect just because it didn't happen with me. Like, I didn't magically go out and make friends. I really didn't. I spent my spring semester last year contemplating if I wanted to come back to college because of how lonely I was. But I also knew that that wasn't the answer. Leaving is not the answer if something is not going right. Because so many other things can be going right. But every situation is going to have a bump in the road, and I think that was a blessing in disguise being by myself for that long, because I learned to lean on myself and not on other people. And I learned a lot about myself and what I want out of friends and out of relationships. And then I made friends over the summer online. I came in here and I knew more people. Let me rewind. While I didn't make, like, friends last year, I made friends with the people in my college. And that was because I got involved with extracurriculars. I knew more people, and they were in my school, my specific school, so I was going to see them way more often. So then, I come back in the fall, and I know all of these people. And I'm not as lonely as I thought because I joined all these different clubs. I see them, I say hi, they greet me, and we're happy to see each other. And we continue to grow those friendships and grow those bonds. So I guess the lesson in behind that part is, yeah, you might be lonely for the time being, but that you have to be lonely for periods of your life. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are going to be alone in one moment of your life at least, and you're gonna have to push through it and grow from it, because you can't be with people all the time. That's just not how the way life works. But I grew from that experience, and now I have tons of friends. Like, we just got done playing intramural softball league with those same people that I just talked about, like making friends in my college. And now they're going to be professional connections in the future. But I see them literally, like, every day. So, if you see the same person or people every day, say hi, introduce yourself. It can go a long way. And get involved in different clubs, activities, whatever. Because you never know where it's going to take you. Like, now I've met so many wonderful people, and I enjoy what I do. And I have more goals in my eyes set on a career path, at least. But I think coping with being alone is also a very difficult task, Because you have to just truly accept that most likely some miracle is not going to come and save you. You're not going to just randomly get scooped up into a friend group. I mean, you might, but you probably won't. And even then, you're not going to be best friends with all of them immediately. So I think coping with it can be harder than living alone. But doing both at the same time, obviously it takes a toll on you. But coping with it, I just think doing things that you enjoy and finding things that you enjoy doing by yourself is really vital. Learning to like being alone is also really important. You have to like to be alone with yourself. If you cannot be alone with yourself and with your thoughts, it's going to be really hard. And granted, right now, even there's still tough times that it's hard, and I'm like, I cannot be alone. But then I find a way through it. So it's just such a loaded thing. I really wish I had better words on this because I have so much experience with both of these topics, but it's hard to put into words what this whole, it's hard to put into words what being alone, and dealing with it is. Because every person is different, but I feel like at the root of it, you really have to learn to be okay with being by yourself. And this goes back to that episode I did on perspectives. If you have a negative outlook on life solely because you are alone, it's not going to be a good time for you. You have to learn to be okay with it, and you have to shift your view on the world. You can't see the world as negative because you live alone or because you don't have many friends. Maybe this is the period for you to grow from it. That doesn't mean keep wallowing in your pity. It means buck up, little camper. You're alone. Fucking deal with it. And I feel like once you come to terms the fact that you are alone and things aren't going to change unless you change them, then your life starts to become a whole lot better. Because you can't just sit and be upset all the time. That's not going to do anything. Nobody fucking cares. I mean, seriously. All throughout middle school and high school, I was so fucking depressed. And all I used to do was complain to people who I thought were my friends. Inadvertently, I wouldn't go straight to them and do it. I do it, every attention-seeking teenage girl. I would do it on, Instagram and Snapchat. And people don't fucking care. They never did, and they probably never will. So, once you come to that realization that people don't really give a fuck how you feel, you start to really change things, but you start to change them for yourself. And this is why I talked about being a people pleaser earlier. You can't be performative and do things for other people. That's not... It's not going to pay off for you in the end. You cannot successfully be alone and live alone unless you are comfortable in your own skin in being alone. But I think being alone is like a sink or swim situation. You can drown in the negativity and the depression and lose sight of life and lose sight of where you're at and probably maybe not win that battle. But your life is going to keep on getting worse unless you decide to swim. If you decide to swim, you're eventually going to hit a fucking island, you're going to hit land, and you're going to come out on the other side, and it's just going to keep getting better. And you can build a little community. Find treasure, maybe. But I don't know. It's just such a complicated subject. I'm going to have a rage attack. Mila just unplugged everything. Anyways, changing gears. But once you learn that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be alone, and it's okay to be upset over it, you move on and you realize there's brighter sides, and Being alone doesn't have to be a negative thing unless you make it a negative thing. I love being alone. I love living alone. I have my own space. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And you don't have to worry about what other people think of you. Like, being alone is a blessing, and you don't realize it. Because, there's the phrasing, you are your own worst enemy. Holy shit, I botched that. But you can be your own worst enemy, or you can be your best friend. And my advice, be your own best friend. Maybe you have to go through a phase of being your own enemy to get to that, and that's fine. But you have to keep track or keep sight of what your goal in life is. And if you want to get far in something, you have to be okay with being alone. Because whether that's moving to a new city or being a new person on the job, you're going to feel so fucking lonely. And you're physically going to be alone. And that's why I say it's a part of life. And if you're not comfortable with that, you're not comfortable with life. And you're not going to be able to adapt to the situations that you need to adapt to. It's just the fact of the matter. And that's why I say you can sink or swim. You're either going to rise or you're going to fucking plummet. So, since you're in charge of that, be the person that rises and be the person that wins. Be the person that triumphs and not the person that loses and sinks. Because there are so many success stories and there's so many sad stories out there too. But it's all up to those personal choices that we make. And that's why I say you can be... So I think being comfortable with being alone is a really vital skill to have, especially if you're an only child. Not just because of, death. But like I said, it's a part of life, and if you can't live on your own, and if you can't efficiently do things by yourself, you're gonna fail. So you have to learn how to navigate those. And it's okay to fail. You've heard it probably before. It's okay to fail at certain things in your life. But if you stay in that mindset of failure, and if you stay at the bottom and you stay negative, that is truly when you fail. Because you're not trying to improve. You're not trying to get better. You're not trying to become at peace with any situation. You're not trying to improve. That's when you fail, when you stop trying to. Not when you stop trying to fail, but when you stop trying to win, that's when you fail. And it's not always a conscious thing. Sometimes it's a subconscious thing you don't realize that you're doing. But that's why I really encourage... This is going to sound so fucking stupid, but kids, iPad kids, that's just encouraging them that it's not okay to be alone with your thoughts and think individually and see what you can do on your own. So when you stay just in your phone or in your room or whatever all day, you are not comfortable with yourself. You need to get out of your comfort zone. If you're looking to expand your horizons, you can't keep doing the same shit every day. You can't do the same routine. You can't be alone all the time. You have to break out of that pattern, because once you break out of that pattern, you set yourself up for success. Does that make any sense? I feel like I've been so incoherent this whole time, and going in circles, and I usually do. But let's try to recap. Being alone and being lonely are very different things, but it becomes lonely. Being alone becomes lonely. And you don't want to be lonely your whole life. It's fine to be comfortable with being alone. Okay, my blanket fell. But it's fine to be comfortable with being alone or living alone. Because you know that there are people waiting for you that you can call on. And you can go out and not be alone anymore. You're not going to be lonely. But once you become okay and have this stagnant mindset of, I don't need to grow anymore. I'm fine with being by myself. I don't need friends. I don't need to go and see new things. I don't need to do new things. I don't need to go see people. I don't need to talk to people. That's dangerous. And we don't need that. We don't need that, okay? Don't do that shit. You're setting yourself up for failure, and it's the fact of the matter. There are so many times where I question, do I want to do this? I really do. I'm not in the mood. I'm tired. I don't want to go out and do this. Sometimes you have to really just force yourself to go, because you don't realize it in the moment, but it's going to do you good. Because, yeah, you might just want to sit at home sometimes, and that's perfectly fine. But every once in a while, you need to push yourself out of that comfort zone and go out and do something. Because if you don't, you're going to lose those connections that you've made and start all the way back at square one. And that's not what we want. We want to keep progressing. And some people are homebodies. Not everybody wants to go out all the time, and that's perfectly fine. But that's why I say every once in a while you need to go out and keep forming these connections with your people, and you need to keep growing those connections, because if you don't, they're gonna break, and you're gonna be left, and you're not gonna have anybody, and we don't want that for anybody. But that's why I think it's one thing to be okay with being comfortable living alone. But there's also that line of being too comfortable. You don't want to be too comfortable being alone and living alone. Because once you cross that line of being too comfortable, I wouldn't say the point of no return, but then you're back to square one. Nobody wants to see you because they stopped trying. If you're unreachable and you're never available to people to see or to speak to, why are they going to keep wasting their time? Nobody should, at least. It's not a plausible thing. So, let me try to be coherent and cohesive with this ending that I want to give you. It is okay to want to be alone, and it is okay to be comfortable with being alone. Those are two really good qualities to have. But you cannot cross the line of being too comfortable, because then you go to the point of no return and people don't want to be with you because they are so fed up and done with exerting their time and their energy on somebody who clearly doesn't want it. So you need to push yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit more, because you don't want to be alone your whole life, and you never know who you're going to meet. You never know the situations that you're going to stumble upon, and they could be a blessing in disguise. So you need to take that leap at least every once in a while, so you're not remaining stagnant. And if you don't want to be lonely, don't be fucking lonely. Go out of your comfort zone. Literally what I just said. Go out of your comfort zone. Break your own boundaries. Because what is that saying? It's like out of comfort comes nothing or something. I don't know. Something like that. I like that. Let's stick with that. Out of comfort comes nothing. I like that a lot. Because it's true. It's like the same thing as just sitting on the couch. You could be going out, getting some sunshine, getting steps in, being active, moving your body, stimulating your mind. So just being stagnant and comfortable and everything, that's not a good way to live life. So just really try to break those boundaries with yourself. It's okay to want to be alone and live by yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to be lonely. Like, I'm not lonely. I have Mila. I have people that I talk to every single day. But I still live alone, and I'm happy living alone. Because I know that I can go into these places and see these people, and I have people that I try to see, and they try to see me. And that's just like the root of it all. As long as you have those friendships, I feel, and as long as you're trying to be better, then you're doing okay. Like, obviously this isn't easy to talk about, considering it's not easy to live it. But you have to start having those conversations with yourself of, do I really want to live this way forever? And do I want to be the same sad person and alone all the time? I hope the answer is no. And I really encourage you to go out and try new things, try to meet new people. That doesn't mean going out to the bars every fucking night, but like, I don't know, like, talk to people around you, introduce yourself. You never know what's going to come of it. But, it doesn't have to be a bad thing to be alone. Sometimes you need a little quiet time, downtime, loneliness, and that's fine. But don't let that keep you down there. Don't stay in that loneliness and that, that little area of comfortability. Break out of your little bubble sometimes and try new things, because you never know what's going to come from it. But, we could be like, what is it, like dogs maybe. Like, we enjoy interaction, but sometimes, you just need a little mental break, and that's fine. But as long as you get yourself out of that little rut, then I think you're going to be okay. And I'm sorry, I know this episode was literally all over the place. I tend to just circle around in what I talk about, which is not a good way to go. But I do it, and I can't help it. But I just wanted to talk about this, even though I wasn't, very concise in what I say, because I've dealt with this my entire life, and I'm finally in a place where I have people here in Stillwater that I can go to, and I wouldn't have thought that when I first moved here. But I'm finally living a much better life, and it all stems because I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone. So I really encourage you to do it, and I hope you do, even if it's taking little steps every day. It's something that can truly benefit your life, not just short term, but long term, and change who you are as a person. And it's done that to me, and I hope it can do the same for you. But hopefully I'm going to try to be more consistent in recording and posting things. So, but hey, we have our 3rd episode, and I just got to keep the ball rolling from here. And hopefully I can find more fun topics to talk about, because I'd really love to come on here and talk about fucking Glee or something. So, but anyways, I love you guys, and I hope you are doing okay. And here's to getting better together. I'll see you next time.